Good evening and salutations, my GH fans. So, Lucas is a dick, and Sam is a POS. Awesome. Just great. They're both at the hospital, Sam and Lucas. And they're talking about, Julian's death. And, Sam is like, I don't know how to feel. And, Lucas is like, well, I feel relieved. Listen, I get it. Julian was not a great father, okay? I've seen much worse fathers, but he wasn't a great father, and I get it. But at the end of the day, he's dead. He hasn't been dead longer than 24 hours, and, Lucas is practically pissing on this guy's grave. I'm like, wow, like, just, I don't know about, and I want to sit there and say new Lucas at this point, because that's literally what he is, but I'm like, I don't know about this guy. I just don't. And, Sam is all like, oh, like he was never a part of this family and stuff, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, wow, Sam, you just keep piling on those negative points, huh? You just keep doing it, First, well, I mean, we go back, and if we don't go back too far, I mean, the whole way she, how she handled the Drew situation, when she kissed Jason, when she was still married to Drew, to her blindsided Jason with this whole, you're a danger to our lives now. Like, okay. But when Michael got shot, I mean, what? You just kept making excuses? Anyway, after that scene, at some point, Sam texted Jason, that she, she found the body or whatever, could you come to the hospital? And I'm like, okay, you know what, listen, at the end of the day, Jason could sit there and put aside the differences or whatever of, them splitting up and just kind of be there for her. Okay, fine. At some point in this conversation, when he talks to, when she talks to Jason, first she's like, did you kill him or whatever? And he's like, no, I didn't do it. Would it have made a difference if he did? I mean, you knew everything that happened. Would it have made would it have made that much of a difference? I mean, you practically didn't seem like you shedded a tear. You said that he wasn't even part of the family at this point. So why does that matter if he put a bullet in him? He was like, no, I didn't do it. And something along the lines of, and I don't remember exactly what she said, but, she was like, whenever I get these calls or whatever, it's like, just because we're not together, it doesn't mean that's going to stop the danger or something. I'm like, okay, so, let me see if I can get this straight. Now you want to sit there and talk about the realities of not just being with Jason, but the danger that comes from it regardless. Boo-boo, that's on you. That's on you. What are you talking about? You knew exactly what the hell you were getting into when you decide to be with him. When you decide to have a baby with him. But now you want to sit there and talk about, the dangers that can happen when you're not there. What do you want? Seriously, what do you want at this point? You blindside this guy, and then you want to sit there and guilt trip him, at the hospital. Like, oh my god, this woman is a POS. I can't. And Jason, he's just going to sit there and just take it. Because that's what Jason does. And at some point, at first it seemed like Sam was trying to guilt trip Jason again, talking about, the kids woke up and, they were disappointed that you weren't there and yada, yada, yada. I was like, sweetheart, you kicked them out, remember? What are you talking about? I just, oh my god. Listen, I already know, I've already read reports that she's going to be having a new love interest, but let's just see if this new love interest is going to have the same amount of patience and tolerance that, our good old boy Jason does. Because I don't know if they are. Um, she's like, you can come over, and you should come over and stuff like that, and then, in the morning, you can just, Jason's like, I can just leave, and she's like, like, yeah, you can just get the hell out. Ooh, I swear, if I say anything more, I'm gonna start cursing. So let's just move on. So at some point, Lucas comes to the house. Oh well, Michael calls him up. He was like, listen, I know you kept your distance, but I need you to be a part of Lucas' life as his uncle. So I thought that was nice. And granted, Lucas didn't do anything wrong. He didn't know that, that kid was, Wiley was Michael's son. So he was just as blindsided as everyone else. So I thought it was pretty nice. But in the beginning of the episode, Carly and Jason came back, and they basically was like, we didn't find him or anything like that. What are we gonna do? They walk in and they see, Michael and Wiley and pretty much everyone there. Jocelyn and Jax, and at this point, Carly's like, listen, let's just pretend that everything is good until the morning, or at least just for a little bit, because previews. Carly was just like, I don't want to sit there and ruin Michael's first Christmas with Wiley and Jocelyn, and everyone's happy. Let's just pretend everything is okay. And Carly tried to do her best. Jason, he was being Jason. He was like, no, we just had a long day. Alright, bro. Listen, even when Jason, they call him Stone, Spinelli calls him Stone Cold, you can clearly see a difference between him having a rough day and whatever that look on his face is. But okay, sure, whatever. So they keep up a brave face for a little bit. At some point, Jason gets a text. Carly's there by herself, and she just kind of keeps up the act for a little bit. Up into a certain point where she goes outside, she starts crying. It's crazy because in the beginning, Jax looked like Jax had that look in his face like something's up. I don't know what it is, but I'm just gonna go with the flow. I think he knew something was up. And towards the middle, when Carly went outside, Jax was like, "All right, yeah, this must be bad." And he talks to Carly, after she's crying and stuff like that, and Carly's like, I don't know where Sonny is. I don't even know if he's alive. And, Jax doesn't really have a lot of use for Sonny at all. But, they share too many people in common to not actually have it affect him. Towards the end of the episode with Carly, she gets a phone call. She goes outside. Well, she goes to the window and she sees I guess cop cars or whatever, like the lights and stuff like that. So yeah, it's gonna be crazy. I guess we'll find that out on Monday, because as we all know, tomorrow is going to be a rerun. Somehow Days is just trucking on through. What else? Oh. It's funny, I actually have more water and I don't feel like getting it right now. So there's some scenes with Brando and Sasha. Sasha is at the hospital. Brando follows her. Sasha walks away, and Brando continues to follow her. So, Sasha's all like, listen, I'm not going to sit there and bother your boss. I've just dropped it, let it go. And, Brandon's like, yeah, I don't know about all that. So, Sasha's like, I'm going to go up in my room. I'm just going to chill, call it a night. And Brandon's like, listen, it's Christmas Eve. You shouldn't be alone. Let's have some hot chocolate and just kind of chill. So they get to talking and everything like that. And this is where you see this whole big shipping thing with, Brando and Sasha. Like, Brando's telling Sasha stories about him being little and, how his mother was, well, she was, whatever her name is that I forgot. But, she talked about him, giving him really bad hot chocolate and, making him wear this, a lot of little cute stories or whatever. I think it was one where it's like he was wearing some sort of pajamas that was like, had reindeer ears and stuff like that, and I thought it was pretty funny. And so they had a good time or whatever, and there's one point when they look at each other like it's going to be more, but they kind of just, just dead it. Towards the end, they're walking away, whatever, or they're walking together. I guess he's like walking her off or whatever, and they're under a mistletoe, and Sasha gives him a kiss on the cheek and walks off, and Brando smiles and he just kind of keeps it moving. So I guess I don't know what this is actually going to be. I don't know if Brando's going to hook up with Sasha, or they're going to be a thing, or is Michael and Sasha going to be a thing, or Mike and Will are going to be a thing, or Chase. I don't know. I feel like somebody's going to be left out in the cold. I mean, let's be honest. It's 2 women, 3 guys. Do the math. So, what else? Molly bails Alexis out of jail. And she's like, listen, I'm doing this. Do not make me regret this. Be a good girl and don't make me regret this. Please. Alexis is like, no, I'm fine. I got it. Don't worry. The minute that they get inside Jordan's place, hanging out and they're talking, Jordan's there talking to Alexis and, Molly's talking to TJ and everything like that. At some point when Jordan, like, turns her back or whatever, like, cook or make something, she's doing something. Alexis sees that bottle of vodka and, she just can't help herself and she tries to pour it in. I guess she must have mixed it or whatever. Because honestly, tell you the truth, there was no way. I don't know if she actually mixed it. I don't remember if she mixed it. I hope she did. Because she was sitting there talking to some people. Anyway, so she's, drinking up the vodka and, just dosing them down. At some point, the conversation turns into Taggart. Alexis, mentions Taggart, still alive, and, like, you must have been really surprised, Jordan. And Jordan was like, nope, I knew the whole time. And, TJ's like, well, I don't understand, like, why didn't Curtis not say anything to Portia and Trina and yada, yada, yada. And that's when Jordan was like, yeah, I didn't tell him either, and he's pretty upset. Because she tried to make up some sort of BS story in the beginning, talking about how he was working, and, he wasn't going to be home, he probably would have been home late, or whatever, and, they were kind of bummed a little bit. Well, TJ was. But then, Jordan was like, yeah, he's probably really upset with me, and this is why he's not here, and I gotta go out and find him. So, Jordan leaves. And Alexis is drinking and drinking and drinking. Or she must have drank up something. See, I really hate to sit there and say this, but, Tracy really had a point. Tracy was like, loose lips and, alcohol doesn't do Alexis or anybody else any good. And at some point, Alexis like, oh, see, secrets, between married people and domestic partners. I mean, you just never know. I mean, secrets are dangerous. And the fact that she said domestic partners was like, Alexis, are you serious? In the beginning, Molly was like, listen, I need to make sure you're good because, you know, you gotta keep secrets and not really say too much of anything. And Alexa's all like, I'm a lawyer, I can keep secrets and yada yada yada. The fact that she actually said, you know, between married people or boyfriend and girlfriend or, you know, domestic partners, and I was like, you know, Alexis, you were like way too on the nose with that, but sure, whatever. At some point, Molly's like, oh hell no. So she must, I guess Alexis must have like put down a drink or whatever, and Molly headed straight towards that drink, and she smelled it, and it was like, yeah, you gotta go. You gotta go now. And she was pissed. And don't get me wrong, I'm not a fan of Molly. Okay? Not a fan of her and the whole SJW nonsense. I'm just not a fan of that. But I was on her side with that. I was on her side with that. Yeah, I was on her side with that. And she was like, you gotta go. And she kicked her out. And then she talked to TJ. And she was like, you know, she was meant to talk about secrets with Jordan and, you know, yada, yada, yada. And she was like, you know, listen, I gotta tell you something. And I want you to know, after this talk, that I love you. You know, my whole thing about that whole scene when you know, Alexis isn't there talking about secrets and domestic partners and stuff like that and keeping secrets. I was like, TJ, you want to tell me how that just went over your head? Just went right over his head. I don't understand that. I mean, the fact that she said domestic partners is something that only really those two really use. I mean, like, really use? Like, he's never really came across other people that talked about they were domestic partners. First of all, I find that to be the dumbest thing I've ever heard. One of the dumbest things I've ever heard. And two, how did it go over his head? But she's like, you know, listen, I gotta tell you something, and, you know, I just want you to know I love you. And TJ had that look in his face, that worried look in his face, like, ugh. That's never good. It's never good when a woman sits there and says, I have to tell you this, but I want you to know that I love you. You know, I want to tell you, in a relationship, you never want to actually hear that. There's a couple of things you don't want to hear. That's one of them. What else? Oh, wow. So Curtis is walking and Trina is being just the brattiest child. And I want to call her more names. I'm trying not to. But the brattiest child talking about, oh, you know, you lied to us and yada, 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 and blah, 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 and, you know, just berating him. And I was like, oh, typical Trina, here we go again. On a side note, and I know I'm going to really get into her. Besides her bratty moments, there's a lot of times that I find Trina to be a better character than Jocelyn. This not being one of them. So she's all being all bitchy and everything like that. And at some point, Curtis was like, I didn't know. I had no idea what was going on. You know, I was just as surprised as you were. You know, and then, you know, Trina's all like, well, you know, I don't understand. You know, I get that she didn't tell us. Why didn't she not tell you? And I'm like, you know, that's all good and well, but that would be really better. An apology. I'm sorry, my bad. Any one of those syllables would really work right about now. But before she was really able to finish her conversation, Portia told her to go in Kelly's to get some drinks or whatever, and she pretty much gave her some sound advice. That was it. The whole time she's meant to giving her sound advice. I mean, sound advice about, listen, no one's perfect, people make mistakes. You gotta sit there and decide if the love that you guys have is worth you forgiving her. That was it. And then when Trina came back, I felt like Trina was gonna apologize. I was like, alright, cool. So she's gonna apologize. and this whole scene with her is gonna be redeemed, right? That's gonna happen, right? And then Portia's like, all right, it's time to go. You know, normally I like when you kind of just, you know, silence this chick, but I felt like she was gonna give Curtis an apology, and you just shut that down for some reason. Awesome. So they leave, and then at some point Curtis is somewhere. I don't exactly remember where, but Jordan, you know, like walks up, you know, behind him, and she doesn't say anything. And I'm like, why don't you actually say his name or something? So at some point, you know, Curtis is looking one way, and I guess because you know there was music playing or whatever, so I'm assuming that he must have heard footsteps or whatever. Because I'm like, unless you just, I don't know, sensed your wife or whatever, he turns around and he looks at her, and he just still has this disappointed look in his face. So I don't know what's gonna happen with that, but I guess we'll just wait and see. And the last little part is Marty, Laura and Kevin. They spent some time together, getting to know each other, you know. And the only thing, I mean, listen, it was really nice seeing them connect. I thought that was really cool, you know, finding out that she has a half brother, two half brothers. You know, one is, you know, obviously that sucks. The other one, though, like, you know, it's like 1 out of 2 isn't bad. You know, Marty seems pretty cool. You know, this guy's been on soap operas for a while. I think his name was Ted on All My Children. So it's nice seeing him, you know, like on the soap opera and giving him something to do. And I wonder if he's actually going to stick around now. So, I don't know if anyone knows this. I don't know if it was on this comment section or Days, but they actually are thinking about bringing back All My Children. And I think the reboot is going to be called like Pine Valley or something. And the reason why I say that is because, well, the actor that plays Martin Gray was a prominent character on All My Children. Along with, I can't remember her name. Liz's half-sister, the chick that was there, Violet's mother. I think her name was Greenlee. So, I guess we'll see. Hayden. Oh my... I literally had to sit there and look that up. Anyway, because I know a lot of people, you know, are hoping that, you know, she comes back. And now that Pine Valley may be in the works, who knows? Other than that, they really, I'm not gonna lie, they didn't really do anything. Laura, Kevin, and Marty hung out at the hospital. The one thing that I did like is that when Martin Gray came in there, and he had a bunch of gifts, and of course he dropped it, and, you know, Laura and Kevin picked it up, and they were like, you know, where are you taking these to? And he said he was taking it to the geriatric ward, or the elderly ward. And the reason why he said that, the reason why he actually got that stuff for them is because he felt like, you know, throughout the holiday times, you know, like they tend to always get overlooked. You know, you always sit there and donate to the children and, you know, the children's wing and stuff like that. And, you know, he was like, no one ever really too much thinks about, you know, giving gifts to the, like, the elderly and stuff. You know, it's just something nice to do. And I was like, you know what, that's actually a really nice thing. That was actually pretty cool. Because it's actually true. Other than that, yeah, that was about it. They didn't really do anything. They hung out at Kelly's, and, you know, she said she was going to be visiting Lulu in Manhattan or wherever the hell she's at. And that's actually about it. That's actually about it. So yes, that's actually going to do it for GH. Thank you so much for watching. I hope everyone has a Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, a Happy Festus. If you don't know what Festus is, Seinfeld. But whatever holiday that you celebrate, I hope everyone has a happy holiday. And be safe. I will catch everyone in the next review.